Bismarck is a very impressive warship. She is extremely dangerous.
Look at this, look at this. I think we found something here. Yeah.
They thought the Bismarck was done giving up secrets, until now.
Bismarck is a quantum leap for the Germans, and no question. Bismarck is as capable as anything that the British have got.
A state-of-the-art submarine drone just uncovered a sealed chamber no one knew existed. But here's the part no one's ready for. It's not empty. It's warm. It's signaling. And it's been sealed since 1941. What's pulsing behind those armored walls? A forgotten Nazi experiment? A warning system still running? Or something even more disturbing? Stick around, because what Prometheus-X found might change everything we know about the Bismarck. The dive that changed everything. They thought they'd seen everything the Bismarck had to offer. After all, this wreck has been picked apart by everyone.
It was designed to be just a little bit smaller than a B-deck window.
From Ballard in 1989 to James Cameron in 2002, but 2024, that was different. That's when researchers rolled out a new kind of deep-sea monster, Prometheus-X, a Hadal-class submarine drone built to handle pressures that would crush steel like a soda can. And when they sent it down nearly 5,000 meters into the pitch-black void where the Bismarck sleeps, nobody expected history to shift. But it did.
You know, to have second dive in open ocean and for pretty much everything to work in the history of manned submersible operations.
The first sign that something was off came when Prometheus-X detected a temperature anomaly. Just a faint one, barely a fraction of a degree above the surrounding water. That shouldn't happen. At that depth, everything is frozen in time. Dead, motionless, no heat signatures, no internal activity. So why was the armor belt of a battleship sunk in 1941 giving off warmth? Some experts whispered about chemical processes, the slow breakdown of metals sealed off from seawater. Others weren't convinced. They pointed out that the anomaly sat right behind a 320mm armored wall, one section of the Bismarck nobody had ever mapped from the inside.
We're definitely looking toward the slope. See, we're facing the mountain.
Not Ballard, not Cameron, not the 2001 Deep Ocean Expeditions team. That part of the ship had always been a mystery. Because it was sealed. That's when theories exploded. Could it be the Zentrale, the armored nerve center where the battleship's electrical brains lived? Historians pointed out that these compartments had independent oxygen scrubbers, backup battery banks, and shock-mounted fire control computers. And here's the kicker. Those systems were designed to keep running in emergencies even if the ship lost main power. Some people even floated wilder theories. Was there classified equipment inside? Something the Kriegsmarine never documented publicly? Old naval logs mention experimental Siemens Schuckert power modules and sealed gyro-based targeting systems, the kind that could survive torpedo hits. And then there were the conspiracy theorists. Every major wreck has them.
Goodness me, what are these? Could this be a gun?
Yeah, you see the gun.
One of the barrels?
It's upside down.
Some claimed it might contain encrypted communications showing Germany's secret naval strategies. Others suggested abandoned prototype tech Hitler supposedly pushed for in the war's final stretch. Radar upgrades, acoustic decoys, or early magnetic anomaly sensors. But the real shock came when Prometheus-X's scanners picked up something no one wanted to believe: a pulsing signal. The strange residue no one can explain.
What did you feel when you saw Bismarck?
It was a very big ship. I thought, when you get on this ship, nothing can happen to you.
Here's the part that no one expected, not even the team that found it. During a follow-up Prometheus-X dive, researchers deployed a precision claw arm to take microsamples from the exterior of the sealed compartment, just around the seams where the outer plating looked slightly warped. The idea was to analyze the mineral composition, maybe identify what had caused the faint heat signature or pulsing energy detected earlier. But what came back? Not rust, not algae, not the usual iron-manganese buildup you see on wrecks this deep. Instead, they found a thin, oily film, transparent, almost gelatinous, clinging to the steel like it had been sweating from inside the ship. Under analysis, the substance didn't match any known deep-sea biological material. It wasn't bacterial, fungal, or hydrothermal. It didn't even show degradation typical of 83 years underwater.
Armor plating 6 inches thick has simply been shattered by a huge explosion.
Scientists at the Geomar lab described its composition as non-organic, polymer-like, and thermally reactive. And here's where things get even weirder. When the sample was placed under vacuum conditions simulating high-pressure environments, it reactivated. Slightly, it began to thicken. It emitted trace chemical signatures linked to silicone lithium compounds, which aren't exactly what you expect to find leaking out of a World War II battleship. One chemical engineer went on record calling it decay-stabilized energy gel, something used in modern damping systems, except Bismarck was built in the 1930s. Was this part of some classified coolant system? One theory, that the Zentrale might have housed an experimental vibration insulation array, the kind you'd only need if you were running sensitive electronics or radar systems that couldn't afford mechanical interference. Another, that it was part of a sealed shock absorption system built to protect a high-value device from concussive torpedo damage. A few historians have even pointed to top-secret Nazi programs involving sealed command compartments with automatic environmental regulators, an idea borrowed from early U-boat innovations. But conspiracy theorists? They went full throttle. Some said the residue was a sign of cryogenic containment, tied to rumors that Bismarck was testing early biopreservation tech for crew members, radar operators, or critical staff. Others claimed it was reverse-engineered tech, fed from whispers that Nazi scientists were experimenting with non-combustive capacitors and submarine stealth coatings derived from captured Allied equipment. The mysterious Morse code echo.
Overwhelming. The size of the ship, as you can see here, was amazing.
Just when the residue mystery couldn't get any stranger, something else happened, and it completely stunned the control room back on the research vessel. About 9 hours into the final Prometheus-X descent, the drone's acoustic sensors picked up a patterned sonar echo bouncing off the inner wall of the sealed chamber. At first, the team assumed it was interference, maybe a looped ping from the drone's own sonar bouncing weirdly in the tight armored space. But then someone noticed the pattern. It wasn't random. It had rhythm. To be exact, it was 3 short pulses, 3 long, 3 short again, SOS in Morse code. Now here's the thing, ships don't send Morse anymore, and especially not sunken ships sealed shut since 1941. But the waveform wasn't coming from Prometheus-X, it was originating from inside the chamber. Over a 6-minute span, the sequence repeated 4 times, with each transmission separated by exactly 62 seconds. Was it some kind of acoustic artifact? A fluke of pressure systems inside the hull? A weird mechanical resonance triggered by the sub-drone's lights? Maybe. But then came a twist no one was ready for.
Pressure boundary failure, we would have been dead before we knew it.
An old naval historian on board the expedition ship remembered a footnote in a declassified Kriegsmarine operations manual, a last-ditch distress protocol developed during the war for use on battleships when all communication was lost. This protocol involved pre-programmed electromagnetic relays that could emit Morse pulses using internal batteries if certain conditions were met: loss of command, high-pressure damage, and presence of external sonar pings. The Bismarck may have been designed to respond to sonar contact, even from a drone it never knew existed. So now the question hangs in the water like a shadow. Was it a mechanical reflex, a dying echo of ancient circuitry, or was something inside that sealed compartment still functioning well enough to recognize sonar and respond? Some experts argue it's simply magnetic reverb or decompression harmonics. Plausible, but it doesn't explain the exact Morse pattern repeated in consistent intervals. Others, they're wondering if we've accidentally woken up something designed never to be found. The forgotten blueprint that never made it to archives. Now here's where things shift from deep-sea anomaly to full-on historical mystery. Following the discovery of the strange residue and that eerie Morse-like sonar echo,
So this is a very long table right here.
Researchers started combing through long-forgotten naval archives in Berlin, Kiel, and even old Soviet-copied Kriegsmarine documents. Most Bismarck blueprints have been studied for decades, but one document had never been seen by any maritime historian before. It didn't come from the official Kriegsmarine records. It came from the personal estate of a deceased Seaman Schuckert engineer, auctioned off quietly in early 2023. Among his sketches and technical schematics was a fragile, watermarked parchment labeled Project Nebelhorn 7, a coded term with no trace in any known wartime project. At first glance, it appeared to be an alternate Bismarck cross-section. But there was one glaring difference. A sealed, windowless central subcompartment, nested deep beneath the armored zentrale, lined with reinforced vibration isolation frames and tagged in the notes with cryptic terms like impulse spiker, impulse storage, Nullwellenkanal, zero-wave channel, and something ominously vague, nur aktivieren unter Befehl 9. Translation, only activate under Command 9. No one knows what Command 9 was, but the notes suggest this compartment was off the books, known only to a handful of engineers. It doesn't appear in any British post-war intelligence reports. It wasn't documented in the post-sinking assessments. And even the 2002 James Cameron dives, impressive as they were, didn't reach this level of the ship.
But very interesting, guys. I think there is a barrel sticking up out of the mud. It's just, I think, to your left slightly.
Some theorists now believe the Bismarck wasn't just a warship. It was a testbed, a floating prototype for experimental German wartime tech. Some even speculate this chamber might have held a prototype energy buffer, a classified device meant to protect sensitive radar electronics or data cores during catastrophic failure. Others go further, suggesting it could have stored magnetic core memory, an early attempt at preserving encrypted command intelligence in a survivable casing. There's even a theory floating around that Siemens and the Kriegsmarine were developing what we'd now call an EM-shielded black box, but for wartime operational data, which brings us to the present. If this unknown subcompartment still exists, and if it's the source of the pulse, the residue, and the pressure lock, the crew list that suddenly doesn't add up. Here's something that's been quietly bothering researchers ever since the sealed chamber was discovered. The numbers don't match. Official records say that over 2,200 men were aboard the Bismarck when it went down on May 27, 1941. Only 114 were rescued. The rest, lost to the Atlantic. That part of the story's been accepted for over 80 years.
Equipped with new scanning technology and supported by the Australian government.
But recently, a German naval historian named Clara Hennisch, working through declassified post-war files from the British Admiralty and captured Kriegsmarine rosters, noticed something odd, a 32-man discrepancy. That is, 32 individuals listed on internal Kriegsmarine logistics ledgers, technicians, signalmen, and engineering specialists, don't appear on the final crew manifests filed before the ship's last voyage. Even more curious, many of them weren't standard Navy crew. They were civilian contractors affiliated with Siemens Schuckert, Lorenz, and even Telefunken, the very companies involved in radar, sonar, and signal encryption development. And here's where it gets really weird. None of their families were notified after the sinking. No letters, no memorials, no confirmation of death. It's as if these 32 men were never meant to be known.
There are no survivors. It's the most serious loss in the Australian Navy's history.
Clara dug deeper. One internal Siemens memo dated February 1941 referenced a sealed detachment assigned to B compartment, under full blackout. Another document mentioned that the team would report directly to Oberkommando der Marinetechnik, bypassing the captain and normal chain of command. This suggests there may have been a clandestine unit on board Bismarck, operating in a classified part of the ship, possibly the same sealed chamber Prometheus-X just discovered. But if that's true, what were they doing there? One theory? Testing wartime data survival tech, including encrypted communications black boxes and new signal decoding equipment. Another theory, more chilling, is that these men were part of an end-of-line continuity protocol, assigned to preserve critical naval intelligence even in the event of total defeat. And then there's the silence. No documentation places these men on the deck. No eyewitness accounts recall them during battle. Survivors never mentioned them. Could they have been in the sealed Zentrale when Bismarck went down? If the chamber is still airtight, if that Morse signal was more than just mechanical reflex. The distorted voice transmission. Nobody can explain. What happened next should have been impossible. During the sixth dive of Prometheus-X, the onboard acoustic array, standard gear for mapping and sonar feedback, picked up a brief, high-pitched burst of modulated noise. At first, the crew assumed it was just feedback from one of the drone's thrusters, or maybe interference from the seafloor vibrations. But then the sound technician running the array froze mid-playback, because buried inside that burst was a voice, faint, metallic, warped by pressure and time, but unmistakably human-like. The transmission lasted only 2.6 seconds, but in that time, a pattern emerged. Analysts broke it down using spectrogram analysis and audio layer stripping. Hidden within the layered distortion were syllables, fractured and stretched, but clear enough to make out one German phrase. Nicht beenden, signal active. Translation: do not terminate, signal active. What does that even mean? Let's break it down. No one knows where the signal came from. The Bismarck has no surviving broadcasting hardware. Any above-deck antennae were destroyed in the final battle. The radio room was obliterated, and the Zentrale, where such a signal could originate from, is supposedly sealed, airtight, no power source, no acoustic conduit. Yet the signal came through, not once, but twice, 30 minutes apart, exactly as the drone's cameras focused on the outer bolts of the sealed compartment. That's not all. When the waveform of the voice was compared to historical Kriegsmarine radio frequencies, it matched the Type B encrypted naval band, used only for command-grade distress calls. That band has been dormant since 1945. So here's the real question. Was that voice just residual data, some long-decayed automated loop triggered by the drone's sonar? Or was it an intentional failsafe, a last recorded warning embedded into the system to prevent tampering with whatever's inside? Some say it was a triggered playback, like a ghost circuit playing its last instruction. Others, more extreme, suggest it's evidence of an ongoing automated defense protocol, that Bismarck's sealed chamber is still running on its own internal logic, still following a set of wartime instructions, still protecting something that was never meant to be opened. The classified British intercept file that was quietly unsealed. For decades, the British government denied it even existed. But earlier this year, completely unrelated to the new Bismarck drone mission, a declassified file quietly surfaced at the UK National Archives under the batch code ADM/INT-7418-B, buried among old Royal Navy intercept logs from World War II. Most of it looked routine at first: U-boat sightings, weather reports, Atlantic convoy routes. Then came page 9, stamped Eyes Only, Special Ops Monitoring. The page detailed a brief emergency intercept logged on May 27, 1941, the exact morning Bismarck sank. According to the transcript, a British listening post in Newfoundland picked up an anomalous long-wave transmission, low frequency, scrambled, and weak. The strange part? It was traced to a non-standard German naval channel, not used for ship-to-ship or command broadcasts. The message? Partial, fragmented, but one decoded line stood out: execute signal 9, vessel integrity compromised, lock initiated. That phrase, signal 9, has never appeared in any known German naval doctrine. It's not listed in the Kriegsmarine's encrypted command codes, not in Allied decrypts, not in Enigma records. Until now, it was a ghost phrase. But that's not where it ends. Attached to the intercept was a handwritten note from Commander W.H. Atterson, a Royal Navy signals analyst. He circled the message and wrote, "Possible unknown system aboard Bismarck, automatic lockdown, investigate post-sinking." Except that investigation never happened. In later memos, references to Signal 9 were blacked out. The matter was marked non-relevant, and follow-up vanished. Some believe this was because the British were racing to recover Enigma-related equipment from other ships and ignored what they didn't understand. Others suggest they knew exactly what it meant and decided it was better left buried. Now, with the Prometheus-X drone discovering a sealed chamber, strange residue, a morse signal, a possible automated voice, and even a missing crew roster, that forgotten intercept suddenly hits different. Was Signal 9 the trigger that locked down the Zentrale? Was it the command that initiated the airtight seal, the energy pulse, the sonar reflex? Or, more chillingly, was it part of a system designed to wake back up under the right conditions? Subscribe and click the card. What do you believe?